Fresh out the oven, it's Cinema Bums! I'm Emmett.
And I'm Wade.
Cinema Bums is a podcast where we watch through every single movie in popular film franchises, one each week, to try and track how the storytelling changes over time. Today, we are concluding our mini-series Cold Boy Summer, covering all the films in the Twilight series. We will fully spoil today's film, but we will not spoil any future entries in the series because there currently are none. Unless someday they happen to make one about that girl Bree Tanner who gets turned into one and then gets killed in that movie. Wade, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. Here we are at the end of Cold Boy Summer. Hard to believe.
I can't believe the Cold Boy Summer is already coming to an end.
Just as soon as it began, and I'll give our listeners a little tease up front. Our next series is very hot.
Ooh, that's
it's very
true.
Warm.
I would say
we're
warm.
Sort of going locale-wise to the exact opposite of this series. So.
Yeah, that's pretty true. Yeah,
but no, I feel like I've made the most of my Cold Boy Summer. What about
I'll tell you, it truly indeed has been a Cold Boy Summer here because on Ocracoke it has been damn cold this May. It
Really?
has been shivery and windy and frigid, and it's been awful. And today was like the first day that it was actually decent to go out sailing and be in the sun. I'm happy that Cold Boy Summer is coming to an end.
I may be as well.
Well, fantastic. I'm doing especially well today, Wade. Thank you for asking.
I did ask. I asked this time.
Because today,
I said, how was your Cold Boy Summer?
Because today we're honored to have a special guest. She's a director, writer, and an actor perhaps best known to our audience for probably having her own Twilight Tumblr account back in the day. And I would even say back in the day. I'm guessing she maintains it even to this very moment. Please welcome Charity Irby.
Thank you. That was a riveting introduction. Thank you so much. And I almost could not contain every time you guys said Cold Boy Summer. I'm really excited to be here.
Wonderful. We're so happy to have you here,
Yes,
Charity.
thank you.
Thank you for being here. First, I'd like to ask you about what your experience with the books is, because we talked a little bit before we started recording that you had definitely read all of them several times.
Definitely.
And then if you will expand into your experience with the movies for us, just let us know.
Yes, I was a Twihard, like from the jump. When Twilight came out, it was a book that transformed my life. I'm not proud to say that.
That's a big statement.
How so? How so?
It was just like I just remember in middle school picking up this thick Bible of a novel and going through the pages. I maybe finished that book in 2 weeks. I just knew like this is the series for me. So every book that came out, you're laughing.
Nice,
you're laughing.
hell yeah.
But as a middle school tween, like I would just go to the library every day and that's what I read. I wasn't always allowed to check out those books because my parents were not about vampire love stories. So I definitely had to sneak around all the novels in my house if I had them.
Did that make it even better and more exciting?
Yes. Oh my gosh. Just secretly like under my covers at night, like going through Bella's like in Edward's story. Oh my gosh. Oh, it was exciting. It was the most exciting part of my like middle school, high school career was those books. And when the movies came out, it really gave me a sense of purpose. I'm being not dramatic about this.
Wow.
They were, each time they came out, it was so exciting. Like watching all the trailers, so exciting. Like reading all the books before the movie came out, just so you could have it fresh in your psyche. Definitely, that was me. I was all for Twilight.
Sorry, at the time, what did you think of the adaptation? Like, how did you feel about the movies in comparison to the books?
I think I was so deep in that I could not see what was really happening as far as the quality of filmmaking. I was just excited that someone picked this up and decided to make the movies and decided to bring these characters to life. I thought every single one was the best movie ever. And I would like post on social media, I just watched the best movie ever after every single one.
That's awesome.
Were you into any other fandoms too, or was this like it for you?
I read all of them and I watched all of them, but my heart wasn't as invested. I read all the Hunger Games and watched all the Hunger Games. I read all the Divergent series, and I did those. It didn't go deep for me. It didn't hit me in the heart the way that Twilight did.
Did you like fall out of Twilight and come back to it? Have you treasured these nonstop all through the years?
I probably watch Twilight once every year. I'm not like, okay. That's probably where I go because that movie is so bad and so good. It's like, oh my gosh, the filter they put on that world, the gray face, like gray the entire, like it's just so bad that I love watching it. So now I just watch it for nostalgia and like to make fun of it. I think this year I definitely, even before I knew about this podcast, I rewatched all the movies in like a day during work. During work, I was just like, let me dive back into my like childhood. So it comes up. It's still a treasured experience for me.
We've heard from a lot of people throughout this whole series that like since the pandemic and being at home, they have rewatched Twilight.
Yeah.
Specifically.
Some multiple times.
Oh,
that's true.
It's an easy watch.
I can understand how watching all 5 of these in one day could be comforting.
I like it because you see the budget. You see the budget literally get like every single movie. You're like, oh, okay, like they actually did this. Like, okay.
I read that in this one there are more shots of the werewolves than in the other movies combined.
Wow. Wow. They love those Digimolves.
Digimolves.
Now, Charity, I hesitate to even ask you this question because I'm looking at your little tag on our Squadcast videos. But I don't want to spoil it for the listener. So what team are you?
We are Team Jacob all the way from the beginning. From the beginning, okay? Back in 2000 and I don't even know when. I was Team Jacob from the start.
Wow.
I was obsessed with Taylor Lautner. I was obsessed with that man. I had his picture in my locker. I had him everywhere. I was obsessed with Taylor Lautner.
Oh my god.
Oh, hell yeah.
Wow.
Such a sweet boy.
That's awesome.
What are your thoughts on Shark Boy and Lava Girl?
10 out of 10 film. 10 out of 10.
I love it. Isn't it so? It's such a beautiful movie.
It was a good movie. He did so good. Like, he had so much personality in that movie.
That movie, like this movie, gives you everything you need.
Yes. Team Jacob. Wait, what about you guys? Where are we on the team?
Well, until he fell in love with an actual child, I was on Team Jacob.
I was back in the day, and I remain Team Edward.
Are you kidding? Okay, all right.
I can tell that I'm unfortunately going to be the heel in a lot of this episode.
Okay, Wade. All right. Hurt my heart a little bit.
I kind of liked Edward the most in this movie because he doesn't have anything to do. He's sort of just like sitting back and laughing at other people doing things.
Yeah. He definitely, like, that was his easiest film, definitely by far.
Yes.
He just killed for most of the movie.
Notice how Seth and Leah aren't even in this movie as humans.
Right.
They're just in it as wolves. They're credited in the credits, but so are people who were in, like, the second and third movies and nothing else. It's wild. That in-credit sequence is so wild.
We'll talk about those credits.
Yeah, okay. We'll talk about that later.
Definitely.
But let me just give you a rundown, the listener, of what this movie is. This movie is the X-Men apocalypse of the Twilight universe, which, of course, means that it is incomprehensible and my favorite. It is the follow-up to Breaking Dawn Part 1, where Bella has been turned into a vampire at the very end. It begins the moment that she opens her eyes and has recovered as a vampire. All of a sudden, she's a newborn vampire. She needs to go get blood. You know, she's like even more powerful than anybody could have possibly predicted that she was. All of a sudden, Kristen Stewart emerges from her cocoon of awkwardness and becomes the great death moth that she was born to be. And it's like, yes, what were you doing for 4 movies? And then their little baby girl, who is growing up at an inordinately fast rate, has attracted attention from the Volturi, who finally have something to do. And it's like, in classic Twilight fashion, at the 5th hour, we're finally going to introduce the villains that we've known were the villains all along, but now there's like some action and some conflict. And you're like, what? A Twilight movie where there's action and conflict turns out to be a really good movie. Because like there's lots of like weird family dynamic stuff going on. And then there's like some intense action stuff going on. And you're like, oh, there's some forward momentum in this. Because the Volturi are pissed that the Cullens have invented an immortal child, which they see as some sort of heinous crime against nature. And of course, all the reason behind it is silly. But you like see there's like a real thing that people want, and they want to protect this kid, and the other people want to destroy this kid, and they're going to go to war over it. So there's a long montage where they find all the friends.
Well, the bad guys think that it's a full vampire child, but it's not actually.
It's not actually. It's actually something else and weirder, and probably more powerful and dangerous, but whatever. And then finally, and I think this is the big thing that pisses people off about this movie, at about an hour and 10 into this hour and 55 minute movie, all the 2 teams line up on either side of this big icy place to fight.
Mm-hmm.
The dude Arrow, who's played by Martin Sheen, apparently. Okay, so he is up there. He is looking kind of crazy and awesome. He's like, oh, what if we fought? Then there's a huge fight and everyone dies. Like, everyone dies. All of your favorite characters die in really brutal ways. And it's really sad. And then you realize that it was all just a future projection that Alice was seeing that she was showing to him. And the fight didn't really happen. And this movie has it both ways and is like, let's show you the most kick-ass action sequence ever to be put to film. I think this movie gives us what The Last Stand never did, yes. Final battle-wise.
Okay, that's fair.
I think this movie delivers some stuff in like a pretty serious way that some other high fantasy action movies didn't do. Mm-hmm. In a way that is so completely out of character with the rest of this series. So, and then at the end, the Volturi are like, well, we'll just live to fight another day. And they go their separate ways. And everybody's fine. And like only 3 people actually die in the whole movie. But I will tell you straight up right now, to spoil the body count part of this episode, 22 people die total. I think like 18 of those are in the battle sequence. And they're like all your favorite characters.
Wow.
And then they all live happily ever after, and it's really sweet, but kind of weird because the Jacob and Renesmee thing is just gross.
It is very strange.
But it's like a really interesting view of like alternative families and like happy endings in ways that you don't expect. So, hey, what the hell?
You have some feelings about that, Wade?
I mean, I think that's a very positive spin on the Jacob Renesmee thing, but I'll allow it.
I'm not specifically talking about that. I think there's something really sweet and endearing about like Rosalie and Edward and Bella together, like kind of taking care of this kid, and like all of the Cullens kind of taking care of this baby, and like vampires who are associated with like death and like being old and crusty and weird and gross, like taking care of a baby is like such a cute concept and such like an interesting uncomfortable space to go into for monsters. And I don't know if this movie delivers on all of it, but it does deliver on some of it, you know?
I love the family more than I love Bella throughout the entire series. So
that's fair.
I will repeat multiple times that I do not like Bella throughout this podcast.
I read some sort of review from the time of someone who went to a midnight screening and said that like the audience booed when Bella came on at the beginning when they flashed her opening credit card.
Oh, she's so good though. She's so good in this.
You don't understand. As the Twilight community, we did not like the main character at all.
Really? Wait, speak on this. I've never even heard this before.
In the books too?
I think it is because she is the least active main character of a series. Like, everything is happening to her, so she became like the damsel in the distress always. Like we were talking about New Moon and how she kind of like did something. Like she's like, I'm gonna go do something about my feelings, even though like 75% of the movie was her just in her feelings. Yeah, I don't think she was just personable. Like I wasn't always rooting for her. I think maybe it's just a personal opinion, but a lot of people just did not like Bella. And then Kristen Stewart did a great job of just not being likable as well. So
I think that came naturally, though.
Yeah, and I think the like Team Jacob of me was like, why would you do this to such a great person? Like, why would you play with his emotions like that when you should have chose him in the first? You know, I think she just didn't make the decisions that I would. So.
Carlisle just is not hot in this movie.
I said this last movie. He looks different.
It's the first movie to me. Okay, maybe in the last movie I wasn't really paying attention to him in the last movie, but this is the first one where I've like clocked that he was not hot anymore, and I'm very disappointed.
Something like happened to his face between 3 and 4, because he just does look very different in both of these than he does in the first 3.
No shade to the actor, still love his performances, but
yeah.
He's good in this one.
He's good. But I did just like notice, I was like, I don't know, that haircut isn't doing him any favors. Like, Wade, what are the quick stats though first before we get into this film proper?
Well, they are pretty quick this week because they're mostly the same as last week. This film was directed by Bill Condon, who directed part 1, filmed in all one big shoot. Written by Melissa Rosenberg, who wrote every movie in the series, sole credited writer on every movie in the series.
That's pretty wild.
Can't really emphasize like how unusual that is for like a big budget franchise. These things normally have like 6 credited writers per thing. So
that's crazy.
This one is based on the 2008 novel by Stephanie Meyer, which obviously part 1 was as well. Score by Carter Burwell, who also did the score for the first movie and for part 1. It runs 1 hour and 55 minutes, making it the shortest movie in the series. How did you guys feel about the pacing in this one?
They pack in a lot. I think it's a great pacing. Like, every scene is like, let's go, let's keep going.
There's like a couple weird moments where they do a montage and it seems like they're slowing things down. But mostly those are pretty painless, and everything else around it is really like action-packed and or forward momentum.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think there are stretches that I think are worse quality than others, but I don't think anything is like significantly slower than everything else in the movie. This thing was released November 16th, 2012 by Lionsgate. I don't know if you noticed that in the opening credits there. But yeah, so in between the last movie and this one, Lionsgate bought Summit.
Okay.
So Summit made this movie themselves, but they were now owned by Lionsgate when this one came out. And of course, most of the reason Lionsgate bought them was to have the rights to these Twilight movies. So this is, I think, I mean, there might have been 1 or 2 the same year, but this is sort of the last movie that Summit makes on its own. And then, like, after they got bought by Lionsgate, they're sort of just like a studio that is used to put out whatever Lionsgate movies come their way. Like, not sort of their own production company that's out there picking projects and funding things in the way they were before.
Cool.
This one had a budget of $136 million, which is the biggest budget in the entire series. It is $100 million more than the first movie had.
And you feel it.
You do. It needed to make, give or take, about $300 million for the studio to break even. It made $830 million.
Hot dog, man. That's sweet.
Look, we loved it. We loved it. We loved it out here.
Yeah, it was the biggest box office success in the series by $150 million. So by a huge amount, made more than the second best, which was Eclipse.
Dude, if I'd known it was this good at the time, I would have seen it in theaters at least twice.
Well, the other interesting thing is this one almost cracks $1 billion. And this year, 2012, is the start of movies making $1 billion regularly. Like the top movies of the year always making $1 billion. So this was the sixth highest grossing of 2012. And the first four all made $1 billion plus. So number one, you've got Avengers, the original Avengers, which sort of starts the whole, like, we're going to get $1 billion every time. Number two, Skyfall. Number three, The Dark Knight Rises. Number four, The Hobbit: An Unexpected Journey.
Wow, 2012 was really the best year in film since 1930, whatever.
So all four of those crack $1 billion. Then fifth, the only other one above this, is Ice Age: Continental Drift.
What?
Which I think is the 80th Ice Age movie. And then you've got this one, number 6.
That's wild.
At the time, this got mixed reviews, but it was generally considered to be much better than Part 1. It has a 52 on Metacritic, which makes it the third best received in the series. Okay, but the review this week is from Genevieve Koski of the AV Club. She writes, Breaking Dawn Part 2 comes as close as the film series has gotten to reconciling the epic romance it is billed as and the self-aware camp fest it often wants to be. But it is still a messy, unwieldy slab of film that's targeted directly at fans of the book series, with little regard for anyone else.
As it should.
I feel like this series almost more, I think really more than anyone else, is like they truly put so much stuff for the fans into these.
Yeah.
Well, there's some things that they, went off track with, of course, with the movie, but it definitely like kept you like, oh my gosh, yes. Like you could go through the book and be like, yes, this is there. Like they really captured a lot. So I was happy.
I wonder if it was maybe that Harry Potter had sort of already pissed fans of the books off. And this was before people were just like, well, you can't make everyone happy. We're just gonna do whatever we want,
Yeah.
Like, I feel like they were in that middle ground where they were like, no, we have to please them.
Yes. We've given everything to them, okay?
Apparently.
We did.
Well, Jody.
Yes.
This movie, Twilight, Saga, Breaking Dawn.
Yes.
Part 2.
Oh, Part 2.
Flop or bomb?
I'm going to say it's a bop. I'm going to say it's a bop. There's some floppy moments. But overall, like, rewatching it this week, I still had the tears rolling down my eyes at the end of the movie, and that's why I know it still got it. It still has what it needs, so it's a bop. It is definitely a bop.
Wait, flop or bomb?
It's a flop for me. I'm not ashamed to say it. In the words of Edward, it's painful, but it's bearable. That's my take on this movie. Far from the worst in this series.
That's true.
But I think the first half is really bad, and I think the second half is better. You know, Emmett, that I've been almost evangelical about the work Melissa Rosenberg did in adapting these and sort of figuring out what works really well and like bringing those things to the surface. I think she makes one incredible creative choice here with the battle, but I think she just would have needed to do a lot more to make the rest of the film work for me.
Fair.
And I'm sure we'll talk about this, like the effects in this look so much worse than any other movie in the series.
look.
They do. They look so much worse than they did 5 years before in Twilight.
Like, I was watching this on the 66 FPS, whatever this thing is I've been watching it on. It was grainy as hell, and I was just having to imagine it look cool. I was like, I think that red blur was Jacob as a wolf trying to do something to a vampire, I guess.
Oh my gosh. So you don't know about the baby.
About the baby?
Oh, yeah. Could you see the facial expressions of Renesmee at every point in this film?
That was horrifying. I have somewhere in my notes, CGI baby is terrifying.
Imagine seeing that baby on, like, a movie screen blown up so big. It's just floating. It's just floating.
God.
It's so bad that you can't stop thinking about it throughout the entire movie. Every time she got older,
they don't let you.
What about when Dakota Fanning just drops a kid onto a fire in this movie?
Lots of child murder in this whole series, but this one specifically, big on the child murder.
Yes.
I have that written down. Emmett, was this a flop or a bop for you?
It was such a pop. It was such... Oh my god, this was the best movie I'd seen in a while.
I don't know what to say about that.
This movie was so much fun. This movie just did not stop. This movie delivered on things that I think The Last Stand wants to deliver on, that I think Van Helsing wants to deliver on, that I think The Hunger Games comes close to getting into at some points. This movie's got it all. I think if you ever wanted to understand what Twilight was, if you just watched New Moon and this movie, you'd be set. That's all you'd have to do. Watch one long boring character study and one just action-packed camp fest, as that lady said.
I love that you love it. I was not expecting to come into this room and Emmett saying these things to me.
I was not either, but I should have known. I should have been prepared for this.
I like a wild swing, man.
I think overall the series tied the knot. If you watched all of them through, which you guys kind of were watching weekly,
mm-hmm.
It is a good character story. It is a good trajectory. Even though I don't like the main character, I like seeing her evolve. I like seeing her grow. Her growth only came when she became a vampire, which is sad overall, but
that's one of my two big things about this movie that were tough for me to get over, because it just feels like a different character. It really, to me, does feel like Bella died in the last movie, and this is a different version. It felt very Gandalf the Grey, Gandalf the White to me. Because this Bella is nothing like the Bella that we knew. She's very confident, and the Bella we knew was too anxious to live most of the time, so racked with anxiety. In the last movie, she has a panic attack at her own wedding, walking down the aisle, and and then we just get ultra confident, very little emotion, super strong, super fast, incredible posture Bella. And so it just felt really weird. It was tough for me to think of it as a happy ending for her, because I guess if you look at the beginning, where she starts at the beginning of the first movie and where she ends, that is a big growth. That's a big change. But it sort of feels like that entire change happens off screen. We see her as the Bella we know, making some steps towards being, taking control of herself and being more confident in the last few movies. And then it feels like sort of her growth just ends, and then she comes back as Robo Bella almost. Just this different version of her, which was really just really weird for me. I was who is she?
Yeah, I think in the last movie, we kind of see her evolving into this more strong, more assured character from her I'm going to have this baby. I don't care if it breaks my body apart. I'm having this baby. I want to be a mother. I want this baby to be brought into this world. So I think that was the big character shift for me, to see her she's not giving up about it. Like, she's putting her foot down. She's telling everyone no. And I think that, like, follows into the next movie.
You know, I think it's really interesting that you say that, Jody, because we talked last episode about how this movie was written as one movie over the 2 episodes, like one long screenplay.
Mm-hmm.
And I think splitting it into 2 movies does do it a disservice in some way, because, like, you're right, the change happens as she, like, dies giving birth to this kid. Like, that is the change. And Wade, you're right, she does die and come back as like an altered person, but it's through her experience, like, from the previous movie. So I think you're both right, but I think that her, like, change is justified because of that, you know?
Yeah.
I definitely see that, and I think you guys are right that she was heading that direction for sure when she died. I feel like just a lot of this movie, she didn't feel like Bella to me.
Yeah, and that's why I love this movie.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah,
and I would point to this movie when people complain about Kristen Stewart not having any range as an actress, because I think she's very different in this one than in the other.
Dude, when she's about to eat that guy on the side of the cliff, I was like, yes, that's what we've been waiting for this whole time. What about the fact that everybody in this movie has magic? Everybody in this movie's got, like, some crazy magical power.
Yeah, they go big on the superpower angle.
I love the characters they brought in. I loved, like, oh, that was so exciting. Just to see more vampires, because we got so used to seeing the vampires we know. So, like, when they were just like, here's a whole bunch of other people who were, like, living in this world, I think they should have done it sooner. I think we should have been introduced to, like, a lot more vampires throughout the series. I love the Voturi because they were, like, more vampires doing really cool stuff. We don't see them a lot, but it was always exciting when they came on screen.
You know who I was, like, stunned to see in this movie and was like, this is awesome, is when Rami Malek shows up. And it's just, like, playing one of these other vampires that they're friends with.
The young, like, Rami Malek.
No way. And he's got the airbender ability, or the avatar ability. So you can do, like, water, fire, dirt, all of it, man.
What about Lee Pace, Emmett? I knew you would be excited to see Lee Pace in this movie.
Which one is Lee Pace in this one?
He's like the rocker dude who doubts. He's like the guy who's sleeping in the attic. I don't know what his name is.
Yeah, is that Lee? No way. I love him. I love him so much. No wonder I love that guy. I was just like, oh yeah, that guy.
The actor from Shameless, he plays, like, one of the stereotypical, like, sounding, like, vampires, like, with the thick vampire accent. I don't know.
Yeah.
I didn't make that correlation at all until I rewatched the movie. I was like, oh my gosh, that's a terrible vampire accent, but I'm glad that he's in this film.
This, like, crew they assemble, I feel like, has the racial sensitivity of a Street Fighter roster. Like, it's very much like, we're the Irish vampires. We have red hair, and we wear green, and we drink beer. And it's like, there's, like, 3 vampires from every country and culture in the world, and they're all sort of just the most basic example. There's, like, Russian vampires. Which is exactly what they sound like.
The Amazon women wearing Amazon gear, but, like, even though it's like 2010, like,
and freezing cold outside.
Exactly. Like, that was the choices. Yeah, they definitely did not have a diversity coach on this movie, or on any of these movies.
It's like all the different nerdy, like, kids and, like, all the nerdy cliques that nobody likes all teamed up together to fight the rich kids in this movie. And, like, that's why it's endearing to me. It's, like, so sweet because it's, like, all these weird little small groups of vampires all teaming up against the big bad guy. And you're like, yeah, I can get behind that.
And we love an underdog moment. We love it.
Yeah.
It was really funny to me to watch, like, overall arcing, like, battle scene where they, like, you see the small group of Volturi and, like, the even smaller group of, like, vampires on the other side. It used to be so exciting. Like, I was like, oh my god, this is a war. It's just a couple people. It's just a couple people hanging out in a clearing in the winter. It's weird.
They show the shot of the Volturi coming, and it looks like so many. And then they go to that like overhead shot, and you're like, oh, there's like 30 Volturi and like 12 of our guys.
And a couple of CGI wolves. And this is what we got.
Well, Emmett, you mentioned that the end of this movie feels very unlike the rest of the series. And the reason for that is that it's not in the book.
What?
At all.
Are you joking?
At all.
Yeah, this is the big thing.
Unbelievable. Of course, the book is even more disappointing.
So in the book, to the best of my memory, you probably know even better than I do, Charity, they do the whole compiling the teams thing. Like, they assemble the team, and they get to the clearing, and they're all standing ready for battle, and then they, like, just talk it out. And Alice shows him the vision, but you don't see the vision. You just know that she has shown him something, and then they all walk away, and there's, like, no climactic action at all.
Damn.
Not at all. Not at all.
Very much in the spirit of this series being, like, there's no action.
No,
so that decision to like show the ending was sort of the big change from the book, the big thing that Melissa Rosenberg contributed to this.
Well, I think that was really smart. Don't you agree?
Yeah, it was traumatic to watch as a Twilight follower who had been, there since the beginning, and then they just started killing off your characters. When I tell you the tears and screams of teenage girls in one room, it was like someone had literally died in front of us. Like, we were screaming, crying. I remember just being like, this didn't happen in the book, this didn't happen in the book. People were standing up, like, screaming at the screen. Like, it was the most intense movie experience I have had since this day.
That's amazing.
It was terrible. And it was the shortest scene, but it felt like the longest scene I've ever been in, because we were all just losing it. Damn. And then they cut, and we all were like, why would they do that to us? Like, that was terrible.
That's incredible.
That's awesome. So you didn't know ahead of time that they were going to pull that?
No one knew. It was great, though. It was a good twist.
That sounds great.
All of the deaths in this are so brutal, too. Like, when they rip Dakota Fanning's head off, when Seth gets, like, crushed to death, when Leah falls down a chasm to her death, Carlisle, he's burned up. I mean, that old vampire dude from the Volturi gets ripped in half by some werewolves.
And he's like, it's my time. My God.
Yeah, that like, rips you up.
He said, as I said when finishing this movie, finally.
God.
Did you know, Emmett, watching this? Did you know it was going to be a fake out, or did you really think?
Unfortunately, I did know that it was a fake out. Like, I knew that had been spoiled for me going in. I was like still pretty invested in the fight, and it was still like upsetting to see all those people that I liked die, even though I knew it wasn't real. Wade, had you known going in?
I had not known going in, but I do remember being very annoyed by this ending of the book when I read the book. And also, I think The Hunger Games does a similar thing, where it all sort of builds up to her like going to the Capitol, and then she gets there, and then she like passes out and doesn't even like do the mission. And so those were like around similar times, and I remember reading the book and being like, this is how it ends? Like, they just talk it out? Which, like, being a little older now, I guess I can respect, like, what she's going for with, like, the themes of that. But I was very surprised to see it. It made an impression on me. And I was pretty out of the series by this time. I remember that I saw this one at, like, the $2 theater, like, 3 or 4 months after it came out. But I still, like, distinctly remember them ripping off Carlisle's head and, like, that shot.
Yeah, that's messed up.
That hurt. That one hurt. That was traumatic.
It is in a series that is not, like, super violent
at all.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Well, it's so much more violent in this movie than... I mean, this movie just doesn't really feel like it's a part of the same series.
Like, it almost feels like the rest of it was a TV series, and this is like the movie they made to wrap up the TV series.
Yeah.
Like, you can feel that budget and scale being so much bigger.
It's crazy.
Yeah, the amount of actors they just had available.
I thought most of the action was like maybe staged well, but not shot super well. But I did love the Alice moment.
Mm-hmm.
That's the coolest action bit to me. I don't even remember what she does exactly, but she has some like big action moment of like running through the crowd and killing everyone as she goes until she gets to who she's looking for.
Yeah, to Dakota Fanning.
Oh yeah,
I think that's when I think that was Face Down. Damn. I missed her that entire movie.
Mm-hmm.
I missed them. Like, I didn't miss Jasper because who is Jasper? Come on, that character could have not been there, and we would have all been okay. Like, why didn't they like use his power for like anything? Like, he had a pretty interesting power, but like, why were you there?
That's a good point.
Why was he there the entire time?
Could he not mellow everyone out at the battle?
Yeah, just be like, get mellow, dude. What if we all just didn't do this? What are your thoughts on Taylor Lautner's performance in this film?
Taylor Lautner's performance throughout the films are pretty consistent. I don't think he gets worse or better. But I mean, he's just kind of like the same guy. They don't. I don't know. I can't say anything wrong about Taylor Lautner because he is my beau, you know?
Yeah.
He will always be me, and it will be C and T. Like, that was our thing.
I understand. I understand. You've imprinted on him. There's nothing you can do about it. Like...
I did imprint on him. What were your thoughts? Do you have some thoughts about him?
Well, I just think he's like kind of good in this one, which he hasn't been in any of them since the first one, and I was kind of taken off guard.
I believe his connection to Renesmee way more than anyone else in this movie.
Yeah.
He really had to act to have a connection with a fake baby, so and a fake child throughout that entire movie.
Okay, we gotta talk about this thing.
Okay.
We have to talk about this part of it. Because I must say that Bill Condon is responsible for the two worst creative decisions in this whole series to me. Which is, one, making the wolves talk in the last one. Thankfully, that's not in this one.
Yes,
and two,
thankfully,
is this thing they do with Renesmee, where you see her at like all these various stages of her life. Like, as young as being a little child, as young as being like a newborn baby, and as old as being like what looks like an 18, 20-year-old in this like flash forward. And she's played by Mackenzie Foy, the actress Mackenzie Foy, who's like 10 years old about. So anytime you see her when she's not a 10-year-old, they have CGI taken Mackenzie Foy's face and put it onto another body, put it onto a little baby.
Horrible.
Or put it onto a 20-year-old where you're looking at this like 10-year-old's face on a 20-year-old's body. Like, it is so disturbing.
Oh, what?
And it is sort of, for the big battle, it's her. And I think for most of the other, like almost everything else in the movie, there's even her as like a 6-year-old, and it's still like a different actor with her face pasted on.
When you see the baby for the first time, it's supposed to be like this beautiful moment, you know? This like, oh my God, all this work, you know, Bella died for this baby. And then it's that. Then it's floating head, weird eyes, like, it's
and you're
so
like, damn,
bad.
that Arrow kid has a point.
Kill this baby. Just kidding. Just kidding. It's a choice that I just wish they could have not made. They could have just found children that looked similar to this child, and we would have believed it more than this. Oh my God. I just want to know what it was like for the actors. Like, what was it? Like, what was the thing that they were acting with? Was it just like a lump of like green screen? Like,
I think most of the time it's a real actor who they have just taken, digitally removed the face of that actor and digitally pasted over the face of Mackenzie Foy.
And by actors, you mean a baby actor?
Yeah, I mean like a human baby. Or she is at other ages throughout this, including a baby.
Yes. At that point, you're already paying an actor to do, like, paying these, like, children, whatever, to do these things. Just use the children.
It seems excessive. It seems bizarre. It seems like putting Peter Cushing and Carrie Fisher in Rogue One.
I saw in the credits that there are like 6 actors credited as Renesmee at each age. So I bet that since they weren't doing like the face of the actor, they just used a ton of different kids to like get around. They could only work so many hours a day or whatever.
Wow.
Like it was probably just a bunch of different bodies standing in that they put the face over.
That's so weird. What a strange
all that
way
money.
to do
I want to know how much of the budget was just to put this face on these children. It was the worst choice they could have made for that movie.
What about when she gets the bracelet from Jacob for Christmas? And Bella's like, yeah, put it on. You should have that. And it's not weird.
It's so weird at the end when Edward is like, I'm glad she has you, a 20-year-old man who loves my 7-year-old daughter. And he's like, yeah, you and Bella are so hot together. I'm glad you guys ended up together. Like, that ending is so
and then
weird.
He's like, should I call you Dad?
Oh, I forgot about that.
And he's like, yeah. He's like, nah, you better call me Daddy.
After the great lengths they went to in part 1 to say, like, it's not just romantic, he can be a brother, he can be a friend.
It's like,
and in this one, they're like, no.
No. It's exactly what you think it is.
We had to, like, rationalize it, you know, for ourselves and supporting the series. Like, we're like, oh, yeah, like, imprinting is not like that. Like, you guys don't understand. Like, first off, like, it's not even that kind of connection. Like, we were very, like, people would bring that up and like, no. Jacob's not like that. He doesn't have a romance. It will progress, like, as she gets older, though. That's what happens. Yeah, it's a little weird. It's a little weird.
Yeah, it's a little weird.
In the book series, Emmett, you don't know this, but there are, I don't know if it's in the Breaking Dawn books or if it's in Eclipse, but they go on like a whole tangent of like we're watching Jacob's side of the world, and it's just like him being like the first person. So you kind of understand the imprinting thing a little more, or like why he is the way he is. But yeah, I think I like the imprinting only because like it made sense to why he was so connected to Bella. Like I have said before, I hated Bella, so I needed a reason to why my favorite character would be attracted to that. So I liked it, justified so much for me. I was like, oh, he didn't actually like Bella. He liked what was going to happen, like Bella's womb. Yeah.
That's so weird. But that also means that he like has an inherent attraction to Edward that we are not talking about. That I feel like these movies like dance close to but never get quite to.
What a read, Emmett. What a read. And also another chemistry that I was very I was questioning throughout this movie, or the movies in general, Rosalie and Emmett. No, is that his name? They're supposed to be like together for a very long time, but we never really saw them together, nor did they ever like seem like they were together. It's
a
weird.
Good point.
It was weird.
They're both like strong characters by themselves, but you see sort of all the others have like hot moments together, and they like never are barely even in scenes together.
Yeah, it is strange.
Yeah, so the moment like and it's like, oh yeah, when me and Rosalie like got together, like we're breaking furniture, like we're doing it for weeks, and it's like, all right, I don't believe any of that.
Yeah, you don't, and also even if it is true, you don't need to tell us about it.
He was definitely like a character I could have also done without. I don't think he.
I think he's kind of good in these. I kind of agree with you, but I feel like he knows he understands the assignment. Like he knows the role he is playing in a way that some of these other actors I don't think do.
That's fair.
But he's like showing up. He's also gigantic in this.
He's huge.
In the arm wrestling scene.
Yeah.
Enormous.
He's unbelievable. The thing that I did want to talk about this week, the sort of big topic for this week, as we're at the end of the whole series, was like the way the reception of these movies has changed over the last 9 years, I guess, since they came out.
Yeah.
We've been doing this for, I don't know, close to a year, half a year.
Yeah.
And so many people have asked us to do Twilight. And I feel like even if it was a few years ago, like, that wouldn't have been true. Like, it feels like we're in sort of the middle of a Twilight re-emergence in some sort of way.
Yeah. Well, is it because, like, our generation of people is, like, getting to the age where we're just, like, okay with liking the things that we like and, like, not really caring what other people have to say about that? And, like, whether or not it's cool.
Yeah, I think it's that. And also, I don't know if you guys are on TikTok, but TikTok loves Twilight. Like, people are still making Twilight spoof videos. They're still doing them. Like, currently, like, they still go out into the forest and, like, do stupid spoof videos. So it's still, like, I think it's just still a pop culture, like, icon. I don't think it's ever going to go away because Gen Z are going back and watching all of those movies and becoming fans and, like, making content about Twilight. So it's just never going to die, and that's how it should be.
That's wonderful.
It shouldn't die. Like, it's so good bad. It's so good bad. It gives you I
think that's exactly part of it, because even, like, I just think that it's in that right space tonally. Like, something like The Hunger Games, which I think is, the movies are maybe a little better even quality than all of these movies. But then they're just like, but then what do you even do with that? Like, those movies aren't popular now. People are just like, oh yeah, those are kind of good, and that's like all there is to say about it. You know? But like with these, I feel like they're still so, like, weird and exciting going back and watching them now.
Yes, like, you're not gonna, like, watch Hunger Games and, like, play a drinking game. No, but you're gonna sit down and watch Twilight and, like, have drinking game rules and watch that movie and laugh the entire time because it's a good time. Like, they want to be so serious that you love them because they're bad good.
Here's my other question. When we're sort of at this moment, do you think that we're ever gonna see, like, a legacy sequel? Like, do you think in the next 10 years they're going to make another movie with Rob and Kristen and Taylor all coming back to these roles?
Oh, wow.
Absolutely not. No, I don't think, no, because Stephanie Meyer, like, I think Stephanie Meyer has written a book, like, written maybe one or two books after Twilight that's, like, following some other characters. I don't even know. I could care less about those books. And that's the gag. Like, you're always, like, if those books were the thing, and if they're not gonna, like, hold up to the thing, why would you? And I don't think any of them want to go back to those characters. I think they were happy to finish that series. Like, like, the in memory of sequence of the end of Breaking Dawn Part 2 is, like, the death of those characters, and so we should respect and honor their wishes.
Dude, can we talk about that credit sequence for a second? Yeah. What the hell is up with that?
What do you mean? It's beautiful.
It's awesome. I loved it.
I loved it too, but I was like, this is nuts. This has everyone who's ever been in one of these movies in, like, a featured shot of them over 3 different credit songs, one of which is by Green Day, one of which is by Ellie Goulding, and the other one, I'm not really even sure who it is.
Perry, I think, something like that.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Because, like, going back and, like, especially in theater, you understand the tears. Because it was, like, the death of those characters, like, all of them. So it was so beautiful to see everyone's face, like, oh yeah, I remember. And then, I'm going to miss them. And, it was very long, though. It was very long.
I loved it. I wish all ending movies would do it.
I was like an hour 35 into this film and was like, oh, I've got 20 minutes left in the movie, and then it ended. And I was like, what's this? I was like, what's going on? And then there were 15 minutes of credits.
This one also has opening credits, which none of the others do. So I think it's a strong prestige play where you get those like 3 minutes at the beginning where they're like costume design by Michael Wilkinson. Yeah, I love the ending. The credits are my favorite part of this. I love that they credit both Victoria's too. I thought that was a real class act.
That is a class
separately.
act. Mm-hmm.
The only things close to this I can think is I think Star Trek does it at the end of the Shatner series, but it's not for everyone who is in any of them. It's for like the main cast. And then after this, Avengers Endgame kind of does this.
Oh, yeah.
Where they like have clips from all the movies and they have like the actor's signature over. Uh-huh. But I do think this is like a standard for. I mean, watching it totally got me. I was like, yeah, we have been on.
I think it is
this
moving.
Long ride.
This is a strangely compelling series. I don't know why it's good. I don't know why. Like, I don't know why I'm entertained, but I am.
It doesn't make sense at all, but it works and it brings a lot of joy. Oh, and the last like scene between Edward and Bella, like it really did. It went right back to the beginning of their like whole love story, and it just feels right. It makes you feel good. Like you're like, yes, like they're going to live forever. This is everything that our main character wanted. They have a family. They have some peace.
Yeah,
getting emotional.
It's really beautiful. It's really sweet. It brings a tear to the eye.
It is every single time. It's just like, oh, I wish I could go back to like 2012 and watch that movie because it really was like. This is how you do it. This is how you like bring someone into this world. You brought the country into this world, and then you just closed the book. And that's how I cried during the book ending, and I cried during the movie ending, and I will for the rest of time apparently.
Well, this ends with the book ending too, right? It has like the text from the book, and then they're flipping through the pages. I like that a lot too.
Oh, I thought that was weird.
Class act.
I was like, that's
weird.
Strange. That was a little odd to me. But, okay, so you've already touched on this a little bit. But who do you think the protagonist is, and what do you think they want?
I would say that Bella is the protagonist. Her wants are always centered around Edward. So it's hard, just from the first book, like, you just see that her life becomes his life, like, centered around him and being with him. I guess that's what she wants. She wants to be with him forever, and she will do anything to do it. And I think that want changes in Breaking Dawn Part 1. And then after that, it's about her family. But up until then, that's her want.
Wait, what do you think? Who's the protagonist? What do they want?
I don't really know. And that's part of the reason why this one is a flop for me. Like, I don't really know what anyone in this movie wants. Except for Arrow. And he's also the one who makes the change at the end.
Huh.
Now, I don't think that he's the protagonist, but it's very tough for me to think of what anyone wants or any changes that anyone makes in the final battle to, like, come to a more peaceful ending. And this is sort of my whole big thing, too, is that, like, this movie is sort of all revolving around Renesmee. Like, sort of the stakes of this movie is protecting her and stuff. Wouldn't that be better if Renesmee was a character?
Yeah.
Like, wouldn't that be better if they gave you some scenes where you learned who she was and, like, how people care about her?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
The last movie is sort of an entire movie that they spend on being, like, what is the relationship like when these guys get married? What is it like when she's pregnant? Like, how does this couple that you have followed deal emotionally with all of this stuff? And in this one, they are parents. They are 17 and 18-year-old parents, respectively, to a 7-year-old daughter. And they don't, it's like they don't even mention it.
They don't even get into it.
Like, I want to see what this couple that we have followed looks like parenting and how they take care of their kid and, like, how they deal with that. And they never even touch on it. The kid doesn't even live with them.
It's super weird.
It is definitely weird. And Charlie's just like, sure, that's your new child. Bring her over for Christmas, I guess.
Well, I would say that the protagonist is also probably Bella. I have no idea what sort of change she makes in this movie. It feels like she's kind of already made the change.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
I think that's why I was very upset, with her character.
That's been a recurring problem with her and with this question on this particular series is just what does she want? It's so hard to tell.
Yeah.
You know,
and if all she wants is to be with a guy, does that make for good character? Does that make for interesting conflict?
Mm-hmm. Is it compelling? I don't know.
It was fun to see her get hurt a lot.
Damn. Well, Jody, you've talked a lot about loving the side characters in this. So who is your MVP OTBS? Your MVP other than Bella Swan?
Team Jacob. I wanted to see better for him. I loved Alice. I wish we saw more of Alice. I thought she was a way more interesting character than a lot of them. Also about that, Charlie was a really great character and really fun to watch, and he was a great actor throughout that series as well. He played confused very well.
I love the scene with him and Jake in this movie. It's so good.
Yeah.
It's the one truly funny scene in this movie.
Yeah, definitely wish we saw more. I liked a lot of the humans in the first movie. I know it's really weird, but yeah, I thought those were the friend group. I thought they were actually interesting and fun to be around, but they drop off very quickly.
You're really doing exactly what the credits did right now, Charity.
Yeah. That's it. That's all the characters that I like.
Wait, who's your MVP OTBS?
For this one, it is Dakota Fanning.
Ooh.
I don't know what her character's name is.
Jane.
I'll look it up. Jane. I think she's really good in this. I think she's been good in small roles in the other ones, but she just sort of stood out to me. The performance that she's giving that is almost entirely silent. She only has one line in this entire movie, which is she says pain. It's one single word.
She's doing a lot in this movie with her eyes, though.
But think about how much she does in this movie and then consider that she only says one word. I think she's pretty good.
Yeah, I didn't even notice that, but she really put pain behind the pain, and that's why it was a strong performance.
Dude, if that's your superpower, you've got to kind of be can I be a good guy? If your superpower is torturing other people, if you're the nicest person in the world and you gain the superpower that's making other people physically convulse, do you really have any moral options?
I think you should write a play about that, Wade.
Yes. What if her power could be reversed, where she's just choosing to use pain, but she could also give people pleasure, and that is...
Wow.
Damn.
That's a different story.
Now it's saucy.
Emmett, who was your MVP?
I'm going to have to go with... Okay, there's a lot of people in this movie who I think are pretty wonderful. All of the shouts to all of the weird and wonderful vampire people that they team up with. Especially the Russian/Transylvanian ones. I love them. But I'm gonna go with Rami Malek because he's so cute and because he's very intense in this, and he tells his dad or his older mentor guy, we're gonna stay and fight. And he is also the last airbender. So all of those things are really exciting. I briefly hit on it earlier. 22 people die in this movie. That's our body counts. We also see a Taylor Lautner take off his shirt only one time in this movie.
Boo.
But it is with Charlie.
It is with Charlie, so that's so pluses for that. So now it's the part of the episode where we've come to the quiz. For this quiz, I've gone truly off the rails. It's truly deep cuts only on this quiz.
I have not studied. Okay. All right.
So the name of the quiz for this series has been Interview with a Vampire. Today,
of course it is.
Today the subject of our interview is going to be the actor Wendell Pierce who plays Jay Jenks in this movie. A character who I had no idea what he was doing, other than that he comes on and gives Bella some information, but he was compelling. And I was like, who's this guy? And this guy is the winner of the That Guy Award for this episode, Wendell Pierce. He is a Juilliard grad. He has had an illustrious career on both the television, big screen, and on the stage, both Broadway and off-Broadway. He has played many roles, and so today we are going to be playing a game where I will read you a quote, and you will tell me if this is from one of his illustrious stage productions that he's been in. It's not necessarily going to be something he said, because I couldn't get that quite that specific, but from one of the plays that he's been in, or from Twilight. There's 10 quotes. 5 from plays that Wendell Pierce has been in.
Okay.
5 from the book series Twilight by Stephanie Meyer. And it's going to be your job to tell the difference.
This is nothing I could have ever prepared for.
All right. Why am I trying to become what I don't want to be when all I want is out there waiting for me the minute I say I know who I am?
It's definitely from a play.
I agree. Sounds like a song. Sounds like a song to me.
That's my final answer.
That's your final answer? All right. Points for both of you. That is from Death of a Salesman.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
A play in which Wendell Pierce played Willie Loman on the West End. Really impressive.
Wow.
You could be like your own son.
I'm going to say this is also from a play.
I'm going to go Twilight for this one. I feel like there's weird age stuff all the time, so I'm going to say that.
Well, Wade, you're correct, although I think you've both been thrown. It's sun as in the star in the sky. But Wade is correct. It is from Twilight.
Huh.
Okay. Yes, I would have picked Twilight as well. Give me the point.
Okay. You both get points.
Retroactively? What?
Sure. Whatever.
Okay.
It's your scent. It's like a drug to me. It's like my own personal heroin.
Oh. How could we forget?
I'm going to go with Twilight.
Imagine writing a book for 12-year-olds and writing the line, my own personal heroine.
Damn.
Yeah, I suspect it may be Twilight as well.
Points for both. Stay with me. Did I ever leave you? You let me go.
Yeah, that's Twilight. That's a Twilight for me.
Yeah, it feels Twilight-y. I would
Definitely
agree.
Twilight. I'm going to say Twilight New Moon as well. Go ahead.
Wow. You're really getting specific here. You're both wrong. It's from Samuel Beckett's classic, Waiting for Godot.
Ah.
And Wendell Pierce was in the production of this that was set on a rooftop in New Orleans after Katrina, which is like a crazy famous production of this.
Huh.
Really winning the That Guy award this time around.
The guy has credentials. I feel a little bad now for just spending that whole scene imagining how much better Tyler Perry would have been if it had been him in it.
Say it out loud. Say it.
This is really just Emmett playing the hits. Is this quiz? I suspect it may be Twilight.
I feel like you're going to trick us on these, but I'm also going to say Twilight.
You're both correct. It is Twilight. How strongly opposed are you to grand auto theft?
Your voice changed on that one, and it didn't sound like Edward or Bella. I'm going to say it's from a play.
I'm going to go Twilight. I can't think of any moment it happens, but it has that sort of Twilight punch to it.
Wade, you get the point. It is Alice from Twilight who says this line.
Oh, a New Moon. I remember this now.
This isn't fair. You guys have watched the entire series recently.
That's true. The game is up.
The game is up.
Yeah.
Play.
I'm going to say Twilight.
Wade, you've done it again. The game is up is from Cymbeline, Shakespeare's other classic.
Yeah, I was thinking about Twilight, where they go play the baseball game.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Here we go. We're coming into the home stretch here. Lost. I am lost. My fates have doomed my death. The more I strive, I love. The more I love, the less I hope.
Yeah, I'm going to go play with that one. I'm gonna go with that
Yes, I will as well.
one.
Yes, you're correct. That is from the play "'Tis Pity She's a Whore" by John Ford.
I thought it was. I wondered.
I love that line. Those lines, they're so good. This hostage stuff is fun.
Well, it sounds very Twilighty, which makes me sure you're about to reveal to us that it's arms and the man. It sounds like the sort of values that I'm used to Stephanie Meyer proclaiming, so I'm going to say Twilight.
This is so hard. All right, I'm just gonna also say Twilight.
All right, you're both correct. And for the final question, I've been with strangers all day, and they treated me like family. I come in here to my family, and you treat me like a stranger.
It sounds familiar. I'm going to say Play.
I'm gonna say Play as well.
You are correct. It is August Wilson's classic, The Piano Lesson. Well, that is the game. I wasn't keeping score. I think Wade may have won. Yeah.
That is the score.
But thank you so much for playing. You're all winners in my heart.
Hell yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
I love playing this game. Charity, do you have any final thoughts first before we go on this movie?
This is the best movie franchise ever created by anyone. I stand by that. Keep watching Twilight until forever. Never. I'm gonna be like 70 years old, being like, "Come on, kids! Like, we have to watch Twilight again." Like, and the kids are gonna be like, "Oh, Grandma, not again!" And I'm like, "We're doing it again." Like, it's one of those franchise for me that I will never get tired of. And thank you guys for allowing me to just talk about it, because it needs to be talked about a lot more.
Thank you for coming and talking about it.
Yeah, and maybe one day, like when we're all together again, we can make some Twilight spoof videos and post them on the internet.
Dude.
Oh yeah.
Yes, please.
Okay, all right. I'm casting Emmett as Jacob.
Truly.
And Wade, you will be Edward.
Wow.
And we'll cast everyone else later.
Amazing. Are there any places or any projects that you're working on, or any places that our lovely listeners can find you and your work?
Well, a lot of things are in development. And so right now you can just follow me on social media, and maybe one day I'll have some content.
Yep.
I feel that.
You can follow me on social media at charity.chantel. CHANTELL, TELLE. And that's it. That's all I got right now.
Well, that's awesome.
Hell yeah.
Thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Talking about this crazy movie.
I love Twilight, and I love you guys. And I love Twilight, and I love you guys.
Dude, I just want to say, you had never talked to me about Twilight, but I knew when we started.
How did you know?
I just knew. I don't know. Spent a lot of time with you, and I was like, I'm saving Charity for when we do Twilight, because I bet she's going to have something to say about it.
Oh my gosh, you don't understand. When I saw the email and I saw you gave me Twilight, I was like, the validation that you can feel my Twilight energy was strong. And then I saw it was Breaking Dawn Part 2. I was like, yes, all of it. God, I remember reading my book under my covers one night. I think it was probably Eclipse or something. And I wasn't supposed to be reading the book because of my parents. And there was a spider in my bed, and I screamed. And my parents, my mom came running in, and my book was out there, and she was like, "What is?" She wasn't even concerned about my almost dying because of the fire. But she was like, "What is this?" Man. And I was like, "I'm holding it for a friend." I literally had to lie to my mom about reading Twilight, so it just holds a lot of memory.
That's
a lot of memory.
That's awesome.
Wade, any closing thoughts?
Not really. I like that we see that Bella's power at the end is showing a YouTube compilation of their relationship to Edward.
Yes, love that.
That's very fun.
Yeah.
And the two things I said last week that I wanted out of this movie, I got. They told Charlie, which I didn't think they were going to. I know he doesn't get the full details, but like they clue him in, which he deserved.
Yeah, that's true.
I would have been so angry if that didn't happen, and I'm really glad it did.
Yeah.
And we find out why Edward can't read her thoughts, which I thought was a really interesting revelation when you finally find out why that is. Did you have any final thought?
Not at all. I think this series has come and gone like a cold breeze on a spring day, and I'm looking forward to the bright ray of sunshine that will be the next thing, and for my skin to glitter like diamonds in the bright sun of our next series.
Oh, man.
Oh my god, I'm sorry. I just saw the like image of Bella walking into the sun and like finally sparkling.
I think I'm gonna. This is the summer that we all just wear glitter all the way, all the time,
on our entire body.
Our entire bodies. Join us on Friday when we have our special wrap up episode, and then we will begin our new series on Tuesday. Very excited to announce what that is on Friday and to get into it with all of you. I think it's going to be a very fun, very uplifting one for everyone.
Love you guys. Bye.
Cinema Bums is a production of DKG Podcast. It is created and produced by Wade Lawrence Holloman and me, Emmett Temple. Wade also edits and mixes this podcast. Our theme music is by Zane Holloman, who you can find on Bandcamp, and our show art is by Autumn Beckner. Our social media is managed by Laura Bennett. If you like what you hear, please tell all your friends and leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, the two best ways to spread the word about our work. You can also follow us on Instagram at CinemaBums or email us at cinemabumspod@gmail.com. Don't flake on us. We'll be back next week.